Okay, so this is my topic, video and video conferencing, getting the balance right. So this comes from my relatively limited expertise teaching online for about 4 weeks so far in Victoria. I've always used video in my teaching in a form that I refer to as instructional video. So I already had 5 years worth of content, about 450 odd videos awaiting this very situation, though obviously that wasn't my intention from the outset. So with that content already done, I have a lot of my course content already in video format. So I may be in a different situation to other teachers in the sense that I feel that the difference between asynchronous and synchronous video, I have a little bit more leeway in how liberally I use either or both. So to me, there are 4 essential elements of online learning. You need some offline stuff for those students who can't access it. You need a place for all the content to live, a learning management system. You need asynchronous video, which is my area of familiarity and strength. And you also need, ideally, video conferencing if you have the bandwidth and so forth to support it. So according to me, online learning, 3 big challenges: engagement, collaboration, and connection. So to go into a little bit more detail, these scholars talk about learner-teacher, learner-learner, and learner content engagements, but I think that doesn't quite cut it, so I made this instead. So you've got the 4 elements down the left-hand side of what I believe are the core elements, and then you've got the 3 challenges across the top. So the reason I'm focusing here on asynchronous video and video conferencing is simply because of the engagement, connection, and collaboration available. So video conferencing in and of itself, I don't think is necessarily that engaging rather. And I'm saying that because we're focusing on engaging with the content. So in video conferencing, I personally believe that engaging with content via video conferencing is largely a waste of time, because you can do the exact same thing, if not better, via an asynchronous video that students can watch back, speed up, slow down, rewatch, rewind, fast forward. You know how video works, so that's pretty redundant explanation there, but that's the value. I'm going to skip over these activities, but basically my focus here will be on collaboration. So this is from a couple of meta studies on distance learning, and that's essentially what we're doing. So building collaboration may be more important than individual participation. To me, my interpretation of this research is basically that if I can get the students engaged and active and collaborating and seeing a use for the knowledge that they're developing through the asynchronous video and doing their work in their own time, in their sort of more reflective moments, then how I get them to do that, the incentive for that is that their knowledge has use when they collaborate with their peers. Because I mean, the social pressure of not wanting to be in a video conference with a small group of students and being the only person who hasn't read the text or read the article and so forth, or taken notes and such. So as it says here, collaborative learning enhances student learning more so than individual learning, and that interaction is essential. And obviously in a COVID-19 world, collaborative learning and that connection is super duper important. So connection, you can do a small amount of connection through instructional video. So there's things that we call personalization. There's sort of elements of research around personalization, and there's also elements of research about parasocial, which is sort of the feeling that you know someone because you've seen them on TV. So this is why if you saw a famous person in the street, you might be more likely to feel like, oh, hey, I know you, we're friends, rather than if you saw any other random person that you'd never met before on the street, you'd be obviously a little bit more standoffish. So we're trying to leverage that as teachers to use the parasocial effect to give our students the sense that they know us perhaps better than they actually do, because they've seen us on video and communicating with them directly. And of course, using personal pronouns such as I, you, we, to sort of get that sense of community and collaboration happening in class. Collaborative grouping should be obvious. Socratic circles I want to talk about right now, but I should say that online learning, just like real face-to-face learning, does involve certain sort of our biases and expectations. And so what I believe is really important to do, as in a normal class, is sort of to, as much as possible, this is an app that I use called Popsicles that is more or less based on the Dylan Williams school of questioning, in the sense that you should be questioning different students each time. And the reason that you do that is because disadvantage obviously is a factor here, especially so online, because it's a lot easier to call on those students who have the nice laptops, they've got their video on, their microphones are ready, and those are more than likely due to economics, also going to be those students who are most likely to benefit from a whole range of different things in a societal level. So using an app like this to form groups and to cold call and ask questions of your students and engage with your students forces you past that kind of privileged situation and gets you to actually engage with students that you might need to hear from. So we're going to skip over references, asynchronous video. This is my taxonomy of instructional video forms. And these are all of the options from, as far as I know. There might be some new ones, and obviously you can use the QR code to go and look at this in more detail. And there's a whole bunch of research that sits behind it, both sort of anecdotal and academic research to support it. But if you're trying to teach someone, and that's quite often what I do, try and teach people different ways to produce instructional video, these are all the different forms. So blue means it doesn't take editing. You do what I'm doing now, which is just a stop, start. All that I will be doing is pressing start and pressing stop. Because I know how to edit, I might spend, just cut off the end and cut off the start, so it's a bit less choppy and a bit less ugly. But that's not necessary, and that's just for show, really. And then you kind of, as you move along to the right-hand side, you're becoming more complicated. So there's light boards that can be quite costly, or you can build one for yourself for, $200, $500, $80, depending on how well you want it to work. Classroom observation is actually quite a difficult thing because you have to be recording audio from quite a distance away. And then there's green screen options that, again, allow you to do picture-in-picture a lot more effectively and do a whole lot of other trickier, more technical elements. So that's my little super short, sharp summary of how to get the balance right for video conferencing. And the basic message I want to communicate is that video conferencing is for connection and engagement. So I skimmed over some strategies for doing that, but video is better, superior. It allows students, it's more accessible. Students with a disability, with a language disorder, students who for English is not their first language. All of those types of students benefit a lot more from asynchronous video, and video conference almost by design is exclusionary to a certain extent to some students. Those who can't afford effective internet or don't have a quiet place to study, video conferencing is not ideal for those types of students. But asynchronous video, you can turn the quality right down. You could use dial-up on your phone. It's a lot more accessible and a lot more easy for students to use.